myself this time. I know how long this is going to have to take, unfortunately. Now, if I can, I'm gonna read 4 different passages from this Bible here. Okay, I'm reading from the NKJV, the New King James Version. I want to take my time with this, and I don't want to scare anyone. But I have been struggling with this information, this download, this level of knowledge, this level of impartation, this level of exhortation, and then this burden and push for about 3 weeks now, and I'm about tired of it. I'm doing this to drop the burden because God is not telling us to do anything without expecting us to do something about what he's telling us. That makes sense. And so I want to share this, okay? I can tell you now what I'm going to read without even looking in this Bible. I'm going to be reading from the books of Genesis, 2 different passages from Ezekiel, and then 1 from 2 Timothy. The passage I'm going to read from Genesis, I don't know why these cops are circling around the neighborhood. They must be looking for someone. I don't know why you stopping this in front of my house. I surely don't know why you looking in front of my house. Oh, okay, you're going, okay. Because you made me nervous. I'm trying to figure this out. So, what I want to share, excuse me, y'all, I'm sorry, because I'm in my driveway right now, so it's 2 o'clock in the morning, like literally. So the fact that these cops are circling like this has got me concerned. So anyway, I'm going to read from, there you go again. I'm going to read the book of Genesis, chapter 18, from verse 23 to chapter 19, verse 11. Then I'm going to go into Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, from the 16th to the 21st verse, if I'm not mistaken. Then I'm going to read Ezekiel 33, Ezekiel 33, verse 1 through 11, with emphasis on 7 through 11. Then I'm going to read 2 Timothy. I know it's a lot. But if it wasn't for all of this, I don't think I would have gotten the revelation of God the way I got it. Like I said, I don't want to scare anyone. I just want to be able to put some people on notice. The ones that's willing to listen. The ones that's willing to hear. The ones that's really are searching for the truth. And tired of watered down gospels, if you will. These are for you. This is for you. I'm also going to read 2 Timothy, 3rd chapter, 1st through the 7th verse. So here we go. My God. So here we go. I'm in Genesis. That's 37, 35, 31, 27. They really got me a little nervous the way they circle in this neighborhood like this at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's literally 2:16. I was up. I went out to a gathering, and while I was out, I decided, since my mom is with my children, I'd go out and clear my head for a while. And I did just that. Did a little driving around. I went into the One Love Lounge and got me a couple of beef patties. And I'm back at the house. So here we go. Genesis 18:23. I'll be reading until 19:11. And Abraham came near and said, "Would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" In other words, Abraham is asking God, if you're supposed to be the judge of all the earth, shouldn't you do right to not kill the righteous with the wicked, right? So the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Then Abraham answered and said, indeed, now I am but dust and ashes. I who am but dust and ashes, I apologize, have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous, 45. Would you destroy all of the city for the lack of 5? So he said, if I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there should be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, indeed, now I have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, because he's really testing him by asking him so many questions. So he's like, okay, let me tread lightly. Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So the Lord went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. We're in chapter 19 now. Verse 1. Now the 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, hear now, my lords. Please turn into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. Okay. At this time, Lot is claiming himself as these people's servant, and he wants them to turn into his house. And they said, no, but we will spend the night in the open square, outside in the open, outside of all the homes. But he insisted strongly. So they turned into him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them carnally. If some people don't understand what carnally means, not to test anybody's intelligence, but carnally is physically, sexually, so to say. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him, and said, please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. See now, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. In other words, this is exactly why I brought them into my house, to keep them from you guys. And they said, the men of Sodom, they said, stand back. And then they said, this one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door. I'm going to go now to the book of Ezekiel. We're going to start at 3:16. Now it came to pass at the end of the 7 days that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, this is Ezekiel talking. Okay. The word of the Lord came to him, saying, Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore hear a word from my mouth, and give them warning from me. When I say to the wicked, you shall surely die, and you give him no warning, nor speak to the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, that same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Yet if you warn the wicked, and he does not turn from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your soul. Again, when a righteous man turns from his righteousness and commits iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because you did not give him warning, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he has done shall not be remembered. But his blood I will require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the righteous man that the righteous should not sin, and he does not sin, He shall surely live, because he took warning also. You will have delivered your soul. I'm going to 33. I'm trying to move it. I'm trying to move it as fast as possible. I'm going to 33. 1. We're going to 11. I'm going to read 7 to 11 again, because I want to put emphasis on it. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people, and say to them, when I bring the sword upon a land, and the people of the land take a man from their territory, and make him their watchman. When he sees the sword coming upon the land, if he blows the trumpet and warn the people, then whoever hears the sound of the trumpet and does not take warning, if the sword comes and take him away, his blood shall be on his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take warning. His blood shall be upon himself. But he who takes warning will save his life. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and the sword comes and takes any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. So you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear a word from my mouth, and warn them for me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your soul. Putting emphasis basically on Ezekiel 3 from 16 to 21. Just like I read. Therefore, I'm in 33 verse 10 now. Therefore you, O son of man, say to the house of Israel, thus you say, if our transgressions and our sins lie upon us, and we pine away in them, how can we then live? Say to them, as I live, says the Lord God, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn from your evil ways. For why should you die, O house of Israel? I'm going to read 7 and 11 again. So you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear a word from my mouth, and warn them for me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your soul. Therefore you, O son of man, say to the house of Israel, thus you say, that means you say to the house of Israel that they are saying, if our transgressions and our sins lie upon us, and we pine away in them, how can we live? Basically, having some type of empathy for the house of Israel, because this would be their grievances. They would believe that they can pine away, and if they pine away in their transgressions, how can they live? Right? So it's saying, O son of man, I want you to say to the house of Israel, thus you say, this you say, if our transgressions and our sins lie upon us, and we pine away in them, how can we live? He's telling Ezekiel to say to them, as I live, says the Lord God. Okay? I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn from your evil ways. For why should you die, O house of Israel? What I'm going to read in 2 Timothy 3:1 through 7 is going to put emphasis on everything I just read from verses 10 and 11 in Ezekiel 33. But what I read in Ezekiel 3:16 through 21, and then 33:1 through 11, with emphasis from 7 through 11, and even extra emphasis on 10 and 11. That was more so for, I guess, myself to feel convicted and feel that burden the way God wanted me to feel it. That's how I took it. It was like my warning to give the warning, if that makes sense. Some people gonna think it's spooky, but if you think so, now is your time to log off. I can't help that. I can't help it that people get offended by the truth. I can't be responsible for that. I have to deliver my own soul. That's how it is. So here we go. 2 Timothy 3rd chapter 1st verse. But note this, that in the last days, perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. And from such people turn away, for of this sort are those who creep into households and make captives of gullible women, loaded down with sins, led away by various lusts, always learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. I said and read all of that to explain this, because those scriptures that I read was my disclaimer. I'm not going to give a disclaimer. I already said a little bit before I read, and then I read. The scriptures itself was the disclaimer, because I'm going to start making a habit of that. Every time I speak, I'm going to make a disclaimer, because I don't need other people thinking I'm speaking on both sides of my mouth, and we don't need that, right? We don't need that. So, the Lord revealed to me 3 weeks ago, but I wrestled with it for the past 2 weeks. How does that make sense? I'm so glad you asked. The reason why is because for a week I wrestled with it, trying to figure out whether or not this is actually God telling me. Is it something I'm trying to be high-minded and headstrong about, the way Timothy 3 says, 2 Timothy 3 says? Or is this the devil trying to trick me into believing it may be God's voice? Because sometimes God's voice is an audible voice, but sometimes the audible voice is the devil's voice. And sometimes the audible voice is the voice within ourselves that we just tell ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we speak in our own fleshes. Let me just go ahead and say this, okay? Because I'm just going to tell you, I know that this is God. I can only tell you that. I'm going to tell it to you the way God gave it to me. There's going to be a major death, okay? When I mean death, I don't mean physical. I don't mean physical. The concerns that I'm expressing right now are the concerns of the world. How things are transpiring in nations, in platforms, in celebrity names, in accolades, in titles, in degrees, in networks, in connections, in banks, in companies. And I'm not talking about, and when I say this, I mean like businesses are going to shut down, okay? The stock market is going to be at an all-time low. People are going to cash out from left to right. We already dealt with the whole cryptocurrency fiasco about a year and a half ago, maybe at best. You know, people using other people's assets that they're investing into cryptocurrency for Bitcoin, Dogecoin. I forgot it was something else. But they're doing that. But then they own more than one business. And then they're switching the assets from this investment into, and then taking the money from that investment and then putting it into that investment so they can keep both businesses alive. And then when everything crashes, because cryptocurrency is dying at the time that cryptocurrency was crashing a year and a half ago, now the person that owned the company owes everybody their assets back, but nobody, because nobody can cash out. But that person also put $1 billion of their own money into their business to keep it alive. It's amazing. Let me leave that alone. AI. Oh, Lord. AI is going to be a new frontier in a way to where people are no longer going to trust other people anymore. They're going to start trusting these robots. Okay. I believe that movie that was made back in what, 2007, 6, 8? That movie I, Robot with Will Smith in it. That was very futuristic. It was very entertaining, very Hollywoody. But I believe there was a prophetic parable and a very slight and subtle warning in that. We're going to come across the age of iRobot, where people are no longer going to trust other people. They're going to trust robots more than people. Okay? We already got the concern about people loving animals more than they love people. You ain't going to see nothing yet when this AI thing really takes off. There's already some businesses that have been complained about from people that's picking up on the chip on the card that's in somebody's pocket, in their wallet, and it's charging their card for a transaction they never even pulled their card out to make. Instead, they actually pulled out another card that was more accessible and closer to the register. But for some reason, the receiver or the cashier, the card reader, did not read that card and read a whole another card. But it was so I need to finish this. So cards are being picked up that was never intended to be used for particular transactions, causing people to call their institutions and make fraud claims. Okay. So that's another thing when it comes to the whole AI thing. This world is going to get more and more digital by the year. Okay. I'm sure we already know that. Okay. Ever since the 90s, things became more digital. As soon as they decided to make smaller cell phones, some of us should already knew what was up, but I was still a baby practically. So, I was born in 89. So, it's only so much I'm going to know. But just from what I do know and for what I've experienced and what I've known people to have and still bring into my childhood, even though it was around before I was thought of, it brought a lot of perspectives to my adulthood, now that I'm a little bit more aware. Let me move on. There's going to be some businesses that's going to shut down. And I'm not talking about small businesses with people that own it. They're just having a hard time getting it off the ground. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about businesses that are well known. Not only that, because this year, 2024, is a year of exposure. Okay? It's the year of truth. This is not the time. This is not the season. This is not the hour to be hush-hush about things. It's really not. People are going to go to jail. People we never thought that was going to go to jail are going to jail. Okay. And I'm talking about well-known people, celebrities, people that are A-list celebrities. Okay. People are going to lose their assets for their platforms. They're going to have to pack up and leave. There's going to be people that's going to lose so much respect, okay, for different entities, businesses, people, all because of what I read in Ezekiel 3. They're going to die in their iniquity because they did not take heed to the warning of the person that was the watchman for their soul. They had a warning. They didn't take heed. They died in that iniquity. God created a stumbling block. Now, while the watchmen have delivered their soul, the person that did not take heed is going to have to pay the ultimate price. And that price is going to be a big price to pay. They're going to go bankrupt. Okay? In the spirit, or in the economy. Okay? A lot of people are going to have an R. Kelly moment. And I'm talking about celebrities. They're going to have an R. Kelly moment. They're going to be fighting for their life. Now, what else was there, Lord? What else was there? I'm saying all of this because ultimately what this means is there's going to be a major deficit. Okay? There's going to be a lot of things that are not going to be utilized anymore. Certain types of music are going to starting to become desolate. They're going to deteriorate. They're going to fall away because people are starting to get more knowledge of the music industry. Hollywood is going to run out of entertainers. So then they're going to be forced to use washed up ones or just pulling any person out on the street that's just willing to be on set, that's willing to be on the TV screen. Okay? Social media networks, TV networks are going to suffer. I mean, suffer. When? God didn't give me all that. I'm not even going to play myself. Because if I give you a time frame, now I'm playing with myself. Now I'm playing myself. And I'm playing with y'all emotions. I'm not going to give a time frame. I think that's a real good prophet lie. That's the best prophet lie you can ever give. Give somebody a time frame. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know one, I ain't going to lie, because I give myself time frames. And then my prophecies to myself come to pass. They do come to fruition. But when it comes to the concerns of the world or other people, I stay away from that. Because everything happens in God's timing. And if God did not give us a timing, don't dare let it come out of your mouth because you're going to look like a fool. And it's funny because sometimes a lot of things are supposed to happen in God's timing as long as that person that's receiving that prophecy believes it and puts it into action, because they have to snap out of reality once they receive the prophecy. You can't get a prophecy. You can't have somebody prophesy on you and then be like, okay, well, they say they see a new set of keys in my hands and I was going to get a new house in a year. Let me sit here and just keep doing my same job, not look for a better job, even though I can't stand the one I'm at, and I'm going to expect a new house next year. That's not going to happen. And then that person don't get to, oh, there was a prophet. That was a false prophet. That's why I don't accept. Okay? I'm telling you, that is why I don't accept the office, the title, the idea of someone calling me a prophetess. I don't accept it. I will accept seer. It's a prophetic gift. You know, a seer can give words of wisdom and words of knowledge. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not nobody's prophetess. I'm new. Get that away from me. I'm sorry. Get it away. I've been told, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to throw my name out there. I'm not trying to throw my weight around. I'm not trying to seem like I'm somebody for real, for real. But this is true story. This is my true story. This is my reality. This is my truth. This is my real experiences. I lost count of how many people called me prophetess. I lost count. I could probably still count with both my hands, you know, with all my fingers, you know, without having to even use my toes. You understand? I'm sure, but I just don't remember how many. I don't want to say it was more than 10. I don't believe it was more than 10. That's all I'm saying. I just don't want to believe that, but you know, I could just have a little bit of insecurity. I don't know. Whatever the case is. Anyway, because it's not about me. It's about my concerns of the world. That's why I'm here. Immigration. Yes, Lord. Immigration is not going to be, I mean, there's already nobody's friend if you're trying to be an American. If you're coming from a foreign country, if you're running from your foreign country, it's already nobody's friend. That's already a done deal, okay? You get here on a green card, on a visa, on a sponsorship for a job that really wants you, they're willing to ship you out, but you got to be able to find your own place. They're not going to front any more money for you. You got to find your way to live here. Our job is just to ship you here and make sure you get a sponsorship. But that sponsorship is only for a year, okay? It's going to start being easier for immigrants to become Americans, because people that are a part of the ICE, which is immigration, people that are a part of ICE are not going, oh Lord Jesus, people that work for ICE, the ICE staff, the immigration staff, they're going to be so bombarded with all of these insurgents, if you will. That's a way that I used to use the military term for foreign people. I mean, we usually use them for Hajis, which is basically Muslims in foreign countries, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and, you know, Syria, stuff like that. We call them Hajis. I know it's a disrespectful term. That's like calling a black person or a Mexican person or a white person or an Asian person. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of rude. But I was kind of brainwashed with that. Y'all gotta pray for me. So yeah, ICE is going to start just letting people go because they don't want to look like the enemy. Because whether we want to believe it or not, America has some enemies. I dare not say what nations they are, but some people that do follow politics, the world news, stuff like that, we already know. I'm just not going to mention it. Those countries are making immigrants look so bad. They're making it so hard for immigrants to have a living. America is going to have to do what we said we're going to do from the moment we made the U.S. Constitution. Okay? Bill of Rights. We're going to have to eat our words and start stepping to the plate for a lot of reasons. Immigration is going to be one of them. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into it because God didn't give me all of that, but he did want me to touch on it. And I'm sure that's for those very reasons. That's what I mean by there's going to be a major death. A lot of things are going to fall away. A lot of things are going to slip through people's fingers. A lot of things are going to fall out of other people's control. A lot of things are going to have to be taken over by new territory. A lot of things are going to have to be taken under new management, you know. I just thought about that song by this woman back in the day, I think the 80s or the 90s, Love Under New Management. I'm in love under new management. I ain't heard that song forever. I don't know why I thought about that song. Love under new management. It has to be. Because without it, all of these nations are going to suffer. The whole Massa thing, okay? The whole Russian thing, you know? The whole China thing, you know? And I believe this is also why I read those scriptures that I read in the book of Genesis, you know, 18:23 to 19:11. It's simply because God is looking for enough righteous people to keep it alive. And if he don't, he's going to clean up house and wipe the slate clean and put the people that are truly in need, the people that's really searching for the truth, and put them in love under new management. But those people that once had control, they will lose control in such a way. This is I'm talking about immigration. They're going to lose control in such a way. To where they're too going to have to stand before the man because they want to make it so hard to let go of the torch. to where they're going to start breaking laws just to stay in office. Kind of like some people we already know standing before the man, right? I don't know what God is going to do with Trump. He didn't give me that. But I will tell you this. Trump is not going down without a fight. Ooh, he's not going down without a fight. See, I never understood why people always praise other people for being so intelligent. Because we all should know better to praise people for being smart when we all know that we all have gifts. Evil people have gifts, good people have gifts. That means people are going to use their gifts for good as well as people are going to use their gifts for evil. And just because somebody's intelligent, we can't be so driven by someone's intellect that we forget. Now we got to read a little bit more into this. We got to look more into their actions and less into their words. How much of their works is matching up with their words? And if there's too much of a discord there, we're going to have to stop and slow down for a minute and bring ourselves back to reality and be like, you know what? Something ain't right with that. I don't know what it is, but something ain't right with that. Something in my spirit needs to reject all of that. Because what I'm seeing is not what I'm hearing, and what I'm hearing is not what I'm seeing. You know, you don't have to be smart to understand that what somebody is saying is not matching what they're doing. You don't have to smart. You don't have to be smart to know that, you know, or even peep that. All you got to do is pay attention and not be so driven by what people say and more so about what people do. Apostle Jones said it when she gave us a leadership class. I think she's given us about 6 weeks worth. I think she gave us about 3 to 4 weeks already. We still got a couple or 3 more weeks left. And I believe the last time she spoke, she said something about a conversation that she had with a family member where he said, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to watch how you move. And that was my motto. I just didn't have the creativity in me to put it that way. See, most of us already know what we ought to do. Most of us already know what is to come. But God didn't give us that gift of creativity to speak or verbalize out the concrete definition of what we're feeling or what we already know, what our spirit is already taken at, what we're already preparing ourselves for subconsciously, you know. And unfortunately, you know, this is the truth of how things transpire, you know, and we're so driven by, you know, rump shaking. I'm trying to be nice. We being so driven by rump shaking, partying, drinking, and carrying on. And I understand we got troubles of our own where we're in survival mode. We're trying to make it. And I totally understand because I know what it's like. You know, it's a very hard ditch to pull yourself out of. Even if somebody throws you in it, you're going to have the hardest time getting out of it. Because you got to do it on your own, you know. This is a day and age. This is the season where we got to start growing ourselves into pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Okay? We can't be so driven by what other people are doing because we may end up being a part of a number of people that are unrighteous and despisers of good, haughty, headstrong, high-minded, you know, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying his power. The word says, and such, and from this sort, turn away from. Okay? And verse 7 was my favorite out of 2 Timothy, 3rd chapter. That 7th verse was my favorite one. Okay? Always learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And this is why some people are so afraid of the truth, because they're afraid of what they may be responsible for because of the truth that they heard. So as long as I don't hear any truth, I won't be responsible for the truth. I cannot be responsible for truth I never listened to. You see? I can hear the truth, but if I don't listen, okay? Because listening goes along with hearing and comprehending. When you listen, that means you heard and comprehended. And once you hear and comprehend, your spirit quickens to a place of responsibility. And that's what people really don't like. You practically cussing at folks when you're using that word. Responsibility, accountability. All because we're required to listen. My God. There's people like Lot and those two angels that showed up at Sodom that's going to have to understand when it's time to receive and not give, because we don't know when it's time for us to be protected. And sometimes the angels might have known what they was being protected from, but they probably didn't, because the word didn't emphasize that. So I'm not going to add or take away from it. But the word, the Spirit of the Lord tells me that there's going to be people, even us, we can take this for ourselves if this is what we do. Sometimes we do not want to take in somebody else's offer of protection because we don't know that it's time to receive protection. We think our receiving of protection is, oh, well, I got a relationship with God, and if God told me, Sometimes God will bring the right person in your life at the right time to do the right thing for you. Just so, if anything, if nothing else, to let you know you're not in this alone. But because we want to be in this alone, we want to be stubborn and we don't want to trust nobody. I'm not saying trust everybody. I'm saying if your spirit don't quicken in a way, you don't learn how to get that gut feeling, if you don't know how to churn that intuition and knowing who to trust and who not to trust, then naturally, yeah, sure, you ain't going to trust nobody. But you might be missing out on ultimate protection. Protection from what? You will never know until you, and like I said, I'm not saying trust everybody, but sometimes you may not know. Okay? You may not know who's willing to protect you when somebody's offering to protect you. Because have those angels stayed out in the open square, who knows what would have been done to them. But since they're angels, they're already sent there by God to destroy the city for God, because that's what God sent them out there to do. For all we knew, the angels was already going to just destroy everybody. And they already knew that they were protected because they were sent by God, right? But like I said, that's another thing where we got to just churn our gut feeling. We got to churn our intuition and knowing what to do at what time, who to do it with, or whether or not we ought to do it with anybody at all. Because sometimes God will put us in a place of isolation so we can do it alone. But if somebody's truly showing up, offering themselves, introducing themselves with a pure heart from a good place. Now, if we're so driven by our traumas and our triggers, we might not be able to decipher that. But this is what we got to work on, because I had to work on it. And I still got some things I have to work on. I've never acted like I was squeaky clean, and I never will. Because as much as I have worked on myself and gotten to a place of healing and wholeness, or Jasmine Margaret Green, I still got some problems. Okay? But my problems don't override my promise. And that's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me waking up in the morning and doing things I don't even want to do. I hate doing laundry. I hate doing dishes. I hate mopping the floor. But my house is clean. I'm still working on laundry thing. But my house is clean. Okay? My kitchen is clean. That don't happen from not doing the dishes. That don't happen from not mopping the floor. You know, I'm still working on laundry thing. It's so annoying. So many clothes, Jesus. So anyway, all I'm trying to say is prepare yourselves. because we're going to start seeing some things we never thought will unravel is going to unravel. And then we're going to see how much respect we lose for certain people. How we're going to start watching their shows. How we're going to start watching reality television. Because we're realizing our whole world is a lie, or because of what is recently going to be revealed. And it's a shame. And the funny part is, the only reason why these things are falling away the way they are, the reason why things are going to fall away the way they will, okay, is because these people that are in hierarchy, these highly positioned staff people, these highly positioned, high pay scale people, these people that are taking up the 1% of the population with all the money, they had a watchman for their soul, and they did not take heed to the warning. They did not take heed to the warning. Like I said, the book of Ezekiel didn't only show me that, but also as a disclaimer to me on why I ought to share what the Lord was revealing to me. Because I was trying to figure out myself, why would you bring me to these random scriptures, Lord? Why would you pull me from Genesis, make me read all of that to pick this up just to lead me to Ezekiel 3:16 to 21? Why not 1 to 21? Why not the whole chapter? 16 to 21. Then he said, I want you to see something else in here. Don't leave Ezekiel quite yet. I'm like, what? He said, I said it again about how you ought to sound the alarm, blow the trumpet. All right. Then there I was, Ezekiel 33. 1 through 11. And he said, this is why I wanted you to read all of that. Took me straight to 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 7. And it's funny because he didn't say read 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 7. He just said, go to 2 Timothy 3. I happen to have it highlighted. And I started reading from verse 1. Something in my spirit just quickened to where I needed to start from the beginning of that chapter. And then something in my spirit wanted to discontinue once I finished 7. That's not God. I don't know what is. You could take this in any way you choose. But I believe God is up to something. Just know and remember that what the devil meant for evil, God is going to work out for our good. It's all in his divine plan. It's all done for a purpose. But it's not so we are not ignorant of the devil's wiles and intentions, because that is also what the word says. Okay? It says to keep Satan from getting the advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his wiles and his intentions. And this is just one of the many examples that could ever be set for man to see just how unignorant we are of his wiles and his intentions. And it's simply it's not so it don't happen. It's so we don't catch the wind of it because we took heed. And that's really all that was. I love all of you. I'm getting off this thing because it's after 3 o'clock in the morning now. I love y'all that much to drop this burden and share it with you. Please don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my mind, or charge it to something else. But don't charge it to my heart for keeping you this long. But when it comes to a warning like this, when it comes to an exhortation like this, when it comes to a download like this, when it comes to a God-leveled knowledge like this, you got to take your time. Because like I said in the last video, speaking is one thing. Speaking carefully is another. And I'm doing my best to speak very, very carefully. I just heard God say some people need to receive this. Tread lightly. If it's not going to glorify him, if it's not going to put us in the best light, if it's not going to give us a good report, if it's not going to be a soft answer to turn away wrath, don't do it. Go the other route. Be a little bit more soft-spoken. Tread lightly. With that boss, tread lightly. Okay? Because while they're smiling in your face, they're evil and they're talking behind your back. Okay? Them coworkers that smile in your face, believe me, baby, they're there for a paycheck just like you. Tread lightly. Don't tell them your business. That best friend that you've known for years, little do you know, they might sleep with your man. You might not want to tell them nothing until he says, I do. Until he says, will you marry me? Or something. Don't even bring him up. Tread lightly. You understand? Don't snap so quickly at your children. Tread lightly. They're people too. Yeah. I just heard the Lord say that. Tread lightly. Had to share that too before I got off. But like I said, I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you and God keep you.